Tired of your old kitchen or bathroom? Upgrade to the home of your dreams with Manny and Courtney from CMK Construction. CMK Construction is Tampa's award-winning kitchen and bath leader for over 20 years. Right now, save $3,000 on a new kitchen and $2,000 on a new bathroom. And take advantage of our no money down and no interest financing until 2026. Imagine, design, build.
Streaming from the Tampa Bay 28 Weather Center in Studio A. This is Dennis Phillips Live. Brought to you by CMK Construction, crafting Tampa's most exquisite bathrooms and kitchens.
How you doing, everybody? So this is what's going on right now. Welcome to Dennis Phillips Live on a Monday. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But have you ever waited on hold for like 2 hours to talk to somebody from the phone company or the electric company or whoever? And you know, and once you finally get to the person, it's like something else comes on. Well, in my particular case, that something that just happened to come on was this. So I've been messaging with a agent at T-Mobile because my SIM card isn't working on my phone. So wait a minute. So guy, well, we'll share information soon. Okay. All right. We are on TV now, and I'm talking about you on TV right now. Okay. So please follow up, and I'll look for prompts. Anyway, so yeah, I'm sorry. You know what? This show is really important to me, and getting information out about the tropics is important to me, but so is my phone. So, so there we go. Yeah, let's go ahead and see where we are. Let's check. I have to hit refresh to get you guys up here on Facebook. There you are. And all right, we are back. So, so there we are. How was your weekend? We finally had some cooler weather come in. We finally had there's always somebody complaining about something, right? No matter what it is with the weather, no matter how beautiful it is, you're going to hear somebody saying, yeah, but what about this? Yeah, but what about this is the fact that we need the rain. And we absolutely do. We need the rain. So, but my take is if we're not going to have the rain, at least we've got low humidity, tons of sunshine, and pleasant mornings as well. Let me check if the T-Mobile guy is back on now. Nope. Oh, yeah, he's typing now, so we will have an update on this. So tell T-Mobile hi from a longtime customer. Yeah, so you know what? We got a lot of weather to talk about, including the tropics, because I'm sure pretty soon you're going to be seeing on social what the GFSicane is trying to spin up. But what an insane weekend for Penn State football. And I'm wearing my blue and white in honor of my Nittany Lions being a Penn State grad. But how many times in history can you remember a sporting event or a team, whether it's college or professional, that was literally the number 2 team in the country, or if the NFL, I guess you could say the second-ranked team in the country, 4 weeks ago, was the number 2 team in the country playing Oregon in overtime, and if they win that game, they're staying at number 2. And in a matter of 4 weeks, has had such a landslide of failures that they fired their coach 4 weeks later. I honestly, and I get it, if somebody loses their job because of other things that go on, personal things or whatever, that I get. But for a team that was preseason number 2 in the country, expected to vie for the national championship, and 4 weeks later is fired for really being terrible, I don't think I've ever in my life, ever have I heard that happen before. Yeah, if you hadn't heard, they fired James Franklin on Sunday. So craziness, right? I just thought that, hold on, let me see what the T-Mobile guy is saying. I have updated every detail on my end. Please ensure that you have removed the physical SIM and accept the notification on that line and restart. Okay, so yeah, that we'll get, yeah, you know what, Jenda, and I was reading on Twitter, because for me, whenever there's breaking weather or sports, a lot of times I go on Twitter just to read the comments, because the comments are sometimes heartless, most of the time hysterical, and there are some people saying the same thing about FSU. I mean, look, not most, but many sports franchises, especially when it comes to colleges, people are not happy with their coaching more often than not, unless they're winning all their games. And Penn State, that's been a thing, because James Franklin has never been able to win the big game for over a decade. Wins lots of other games, but when it came to top 10 teams, it would just always lose. And the fan base was always a little upset about that, and this was just the last straw. So anyway, so I'm wearing my blue and white in honor of my Penn State Nittany Lions and support of the team. So here we go. We're going to start with local. All right, let's start with the local forecast. We're going to jump through that. I'm going to look at your comments while I'm doing it and give my hellos at the same time and see what the T-Mobile guy is saying. Make sure to restart your device as well as accept the notifications on the SIM. So that's good. So we're making progress. Yes, Kevin, it is the year of the underdog. Yes, it is. Colleen saying, go Brewers. Brewers are the underdog. So you know what? It's possible. It is certainly possible. So anyway, here's a look at what a beautiful... Anyway, what I was saying is we need the rain. We definitely need the rain. There's no doubt. We all know we need the rain. But I think my take is, at this point, hey, at least let's enjoy the fact that the humidity is low. Debbie, how you doing? Good to see you. Joan in Spring Hill, nice to see you. Low to mid-70s right now, Crystal River to Brooksville, upper 70s, Riverview to Tampa, 78, St. Pete, 76 in Clearwater. Jamia, I did not sure exactly what you're talking about. Fishhawk's in the house with Bill. Good to see you. Eric is lurking again. Mary, nice to see. I did see, Mary, that OMGH Wicks did have a Rule Number 7 hoodie on yesterday and was at the Bucks game. We hit 89 today in Tampa, only 79 in Clearwater. And there's your dew points. Richard's talking about the dew points. Yeah, the dew point in the lower 60s. Wanda, Palm Harbor, how are you? Good to see you. Sheila, go Buckeyes. It always makes me sad when this show, remember this show, we were looking at beautiful sunsets just a couple of weeks ago, and now all of a sudden we see the automated nighttime icon. Ooh, great shot there from Ray J. I'm gonna move this back so you can see it. I have to take this out of show sequence to do it. Ooh, it's purple, right? What's the purple color for? We had green and gold for USF. We obviously have the Bucks, pewter and gold, but wonder what that purple color is for. I'm sure somebody knows. Please tell me. There's your satellite. Yeah, Jenda wants to know, are we going to make it through hurricane season without a storm? What is my best guess? You know, we're going to talk more about that, but I think you guys know I'm on the record. And by the way, based on what we're seeing right now, the odds are certainly in a favor of not seeing development. There's nothing out there, and the models really aren't showing anything outside of that wave that we will talk about coming up later on. But everything looked a go for development in the Caribbean with very warm water, with a La Nina. I mean, all the ingredients were there, and the models have been showing it for a month. And you've heard me say on the record, I just didn't see how it would be possible for us not to see any development in the Caribbean or the Gulf. And yet Mother Nature does it again and tries to trump everything. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy. And yet, there is very little development anticipated over the next 7 to 10 days. Well, no, there's no development expected in the next 7 to 10 days in the Caribbean or the Gulf. But, you know, Nadine mentioned it at 6 o'clock. She's like, well, she was asking, you know, can we say hurricane season is just about over? I'm like, no, because the season runs till the end of November. Right off the bat, we know it isn't over. It runs till the end of November. And then all of a sudden, we still have those very warm temperatures in the Caribbean. And even if the Gulf cools off below the magic number of 80 degrees, you still have systems that develop in the Caribbean, accelerate usually as we go into October, into November, because its forward momentum starts to pick up and won't really have time to fizzle out very much, AKA Wilma. You guys remember Wilma back in 05. That's exactly what happened. So there can still be development. And I would be flabbergasted, is the word that I use, if we don't see development. And yet, we are not seeing development. And there's nothing in the short-term models that show that we will. So it's Breast Cancer Awareness, Debbie. Thank you very much. I thought that was red. I thought that was a red color, not purple. But there we go. So, Peter, we've defeated hurricanes. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, see, but maybe the colors were red and it's just a bad monitor. I don't know. So, David, if they're talking about something in the Gulf, I will show you what it is that they are talking about. But it is not a Gulf-developed system. All right? It is a Caribbean system. It is an Atlantic system that goes into the Caribbean, actually. Anyway, let's keep looking. There's a look at Futurecast. It looks absolutely beautiful. We're just going to fly through this because there's very little to show. Backdoor cool front coming in Wednesday afternoon, maybe a shower in Highlands County. Jules, I thought the same thing. I thought purple was domestic and pink was breast cancer, but maybe the color was pink and it just, the monitor didn't look right. Maybe that's certainly a possibility. Temperatures, tomorrow morning, upper 50s northern counties, low 60s Pasco, mid to upper 60s elsewhere. And there's a look at the rainfall forecast. A lot of nothing. 0. All right? And there's a look at your temperatures. And there is a look at the nor'easter. All right? So, when we come back, we're going to talk more about the nor'easter. We're going to talk about how that could impact our weather, and we'll continue to do so, and the tropics. That all continues in 90 seconds as DPL continues. Okay, so we hit our first break. Thanks for the reminder. I love you guys. If it were not be for you, I would still be talking. I'd be getting yelled at. Let's see what the T-Mobile guy has to say. Hold on. If your device is not connected to the network after you've restarted, you can follow the steps below to download an eSIM profile. Oh, man, this is complicated. So well, anyway. So let's do some hellos. We've got Michelle. How are you? Is it possible, Elise wants to know, is it possible that the season is shifting later or longer, considering the waves still coming off of Africa? Elise, I would say anything is possible these days because of just, we've had some, look, we all know there are changes going on. Are they short-term? Are they long-term? I don't know. But there are changes, and sometimes those changes can have a big impact on hurricane season. You know, we all know that hurricanes are designed, there's a reason hurricanes are out there. Hurricanes are out there because they're designed to cool the atmosphere and to cool the waters. That's what they do, to release that energy. So if those hurricanes don't form, that energy does not get released or it relocates into another spot. How you doing? Is it Dodie? Good to see you. All right, we are back in 3, 2. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Spot 66.1. Bolts with their first victory of the season tonight, or today, rather. It was a 1 o'clock start, 1 o'clock puck drop, as the Bolts took on the Bees, the Boston Bruins, and we're victorious. So I think the Bolts are now 1-2 after a win today. So let's go back and look at our nor'easter that we've been talking about. We've been talking about it for days. It developed right on cue, and in doing so, it has created beach erosion for the Mid-Atlantic and the Jersey Shore. It has caused coastal flooding. It has caused some wind. Kurt wants to know, why wasn't I informed you were on? Anna Maria is correct. We are on DPL Monday through Friday, every night at 7:30 Monday through Friday. We are on the spot when the Bolts games are not on Monday through Friday. How would the storm up north impact our weather, Cassie wants to know? Well, it's doing it right now, and that is a good question. And it's doing it because, remember, low pressure in the northern hemisphere has counterclockwise circulation, and that counterclockwise circulation is drawing down air from the north, and with a northerly flow, bringing it right on into Florida with lower dew points and cooler temperatures. All right, there is the tropics, all right? Let's see if we have a new update from the NHC yet. They update at 8 o'clock, and we do, but there have been no changes. So here's what I expect is going to happen. Over the next few, you didn't get an alert. Not sure about that, don't know. So there is a look at Lorenzo, which is going to cause no issues whatsoever for us. It is going to curve and go north and fizzle out. But the question that is out there is, what is coming off the coast of Africa? Well, I'm just going to go ahead and show you the GFS. Well, no. First, let's start. Let's start the ensembles. Here's the GFS ensembles, okay? And you see down here, all right? That is what, look at all this, a heck of a lot of stuff all the way. Look at all those lines out there. There's zoops everywhere. Zoop, 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 zoop. But the models are picking up a wave coming off of Africa at a very low latitude. Very low latitude, okay? And if it is far enough to the south, it potentially could avoid being picked up. Now, you see there's a lot of zoops out here. And by the way, all of these zoops are major hurricanes with that red color. See that right there? So there are many of them that go zoop and all that, but there are a handful, about a dozen, that bring it into the Caribbean, okay? And interestingly enough, there are one or two that turn this into a major storm. Now, most of them, if not all of them, curve whatever this is at some point in time, but some curve later than others. And this one particular one that you see right here, that is the latest GFS operational run, which again, you know as well as I do, we ridicule, we scoff, we make fun of. Now there is a question as whether this might be some Caribbean development in addition as a different system coming in here. And it is unclear. But I show you this because you're probably going to see the GFS deterministic view, operational view. Watch what happens. I mean, I'm just going to show you it. We ridicule it. We mock it. It comes across. It goes into the islands. It starts to develop. It hits all that warm water and blows up into a major hurricane. And then at that point, it gets very close to Florida. I will say this again. This is 2 weeks out. On so many levels, we are going to ridicule and mock this particular model run because the GFSicane often does this. But you're probably going to see it on social. The reason this is so unlikely on so many levels is, one, is coming off Africa, which is incredibly rare since, as you know, the majority of development this time of the year does not come from Africa, but it comes from the Caribbean or the Gulf, and in November, it almost always comes from the Caribbean or the Gulf. So this is an Atlantic system that would come all the way across, make it into the Caribbean, and eventually curve north. Now, the eventually curving north is reasonable. But here's why I will not completely ridicule, scoff at this forever. Because if you look at the euro, while the euro does not blow this up like the GFS does, the euro does have an entity coming off in a similar spot. It is not identical, but it does bring a trackable wave from the Atlantic. It's right there in the islands, into the Caribbean. Now, it is a wave. It's an open wave. It is not developed. And then it brings it into Central America. Never curves it because it keeps it so far south. So the only reason I'm even talking about this is because both the GFS, it's right, it is My Cousin Vinny, Rob. I will quote that movie anytime I can. Because both the GFS and the euro do have a trackable entity come off of Africa, across the Atlantic, and go into the Caribbean. Now, again, this late in the season, that is extraordinarily rare, but so is no developing tropical systems in the Caribbean or the Gulf in the entire year. And at this point, we have had none, zero, zilch, bupkis, right? So there you have it. All right, we are going to look at a few more runs, a few more ensembles, and talk about how long our cool weather is going to last in 90 seconds as DPL continues on the spot. Okay, we are in our second break, and yet again, thank you for the updates. You know what? I did not call up the Euro AI, but just because you asked, I will. We had a rocket launch, Amanda. So yeah, that was a rocket launch, Matt, about 10 minutes ago. All right, let's look. I'm going to call it up. Let's see what the Euro AI shows, shall we? Z. Now, the Euro AI does not show a feature, does not show the Atlantic feature, but it does show a little bit of development in the Caribbean. So remember, we showed you there were two possibilities. But I'll come back to show this as well, because it's a good question. Yeah, I'll show both. All right. And do we have another cold front coming? Ryan, we do on Sunday and Monday. Okay? All right, we're back in 3, 2. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Dennis Phillips Live. I had a good question on the chat. If you're watching on TV, I appreciate you. You're awesome. You might be watching on DirecTV Stream. You might be watching on Spectrum. You might be watching on OTA, Frontier, Wow. There's lots of different places you can watch DPL. But to really experience the maniacal sense of how this show really works, you watch on TV and you follow along on the chat, because I'm sure you can get a grasp, get a feel for what the chats are like, because you guys know how chats can go. They often go off the rails, and that's what kind of makes it fun. And that's why we have the ban button, because we have to monitor the chat somewhat. All right. Someone just asked me, what about the Euro AI? And I'm like, you know what? That's a good question. And the Euro AI actually, remember last segment we talked about how there are two potential areas of development. There is the Atlantic, and then there's also, and the GFS was showing you that, remember? I circled two areas. We had this one that comes from here, from the Atlantic, zoop, and zoop, and zoop. Then we also had a little bit of development right there, right? Well, the Euro AI does not show the Atlantic system developing, but it does show the Caribbean system developing. So that is the difference between the two. As I said, the GFS is very aggressive, as it always is, and we ridicule this model and we make it feel bad about itself because it's wrong 98% of the time. 98% of the time, it is wrong. Xfinity took me off the air. I got to check on that, Cindy. Yep, I'm going to check with my boss on that one. All right, so, because I'm going to take that personally. Anyway, there's a look at the GFS. There's the euro. It does develop something, but it just goes west right into Central America. See it right there? So, let's look at temperatures tomorrow morning, shall we? All right. Here is a look at your wake-up temperatures. Let's go ahead and look at some of these. Yeah, we never were on dish. Karen, we were never on dish. That was something that I think they're still working on. There has not been an agreement on dish. All right, so there's a look at tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. There are your temperatures. All right. There's a look at Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. Still comfortable, but a little warmer. There's a look at Thursday morning, 8 a.m. Then we start to warm up, but another front comes through on Sunday. And by Monday morning, we see cooler air coming into the panhandle. By Tuesday morning, that cooler air begins to drop into our area of next week. Next Tuesday and Wednesday, we see another cool down with more 50s. Now remember, the euro has a cold bias. We've talked about this 11 billion times. So there is a cold bias. Usually it's not quite as cold as the, oh my heavens, we got to get another break in. Holy cow. We're going to have like a 30-second final segment. All right, folks, I gave you the tropics. I gave you the local temps. We'll be back in 90 seconds on the spot. Man, as a lot of, this is going to be like the 6 o'clock news sometimes when weather goes heavy. Because when weather goes heavy, and I see other shows, there's like the accordion effect. You can kind of leave the producer a little bit of time at the end of the show to kind of finagle stuff around. But at the 6 o'clock show and at the 11 o'clock show, there's no time behind to catch up. So if Caitlin is producing the 6, as she often does, and if I go heavy, and I usually don't go heavy at 6, but if I do, it completely cuts out at the end of the show. So she might only be leaving 40 seconds at that last segment anyway, which sometimes happens. And if weather goes long, 25 seconds, we've literally had a last segment back from the commercial break night, boom. We have had that happen one time. You have 2 seconds left on the back end. We have heard that. In this particular case, we're going to have, we got a lot. We got a minute and a half. We got lots of time. All right, so do we know what's the latest hurricane? I do not. Rich, I do not know. And I also don't know the last time the Gulf has not had any development at all. I need to get that. You know what? Somebody just asked me, and this is an interesting question. Someone just asked why we're back on the spot. Someone just asked a really interesting question. Why is it that I act different here than on TV? This is a way more laid-back show. You know, the news, it's got that, I don't know, it's just a different feel, if you will. It's a little more formal. It used to be. But I will tell you that my boss has even said that she wants me to be the same here that I am on TV. We just did this conversation like a week or two ago, where looking to keep the same tone and feel on TV as we do on DPL. So it's hard because I've been doing this a long time, and you have that more formal feel when you're on broadcast TV. You got the tie and everything else, but things are changing, my friends. We all know that. So I think how you view broadcast TV is changing, and I think how we present it is also changing. So that's a really good question. All right, guys. So have a good night if you're watching on the spot. We will be back tomorrow night. We're going to continue to answer a few more questions as well on social media. Have a great night, and thanks for watching DPL on the spot. Okay, so TV is gone and streaming is gone. But no, the opposite, Mary. She wants me to, well, professional is kind of a, I don't know if it's the right word. It's just different. It's just different. Because I found myself still being a little, look, when I am here, this is me. Like, the person you're seeing right here, this is who I am in real life. And I think people know that, including on Facebook and social media. I'm very transparent with my life, with my family. Who I am is who I am, and I don't put on any airs. I am who I am. So says Popeye. I am who I am. But TV, and, especially news anchors, and you've even got some people out there, old school people, who are just fighting this till the end of the day. Oh, it's supposed to be more formal, and it's supposed to be more serious and everything. In my opinion, that's all it is. Those days are quickly going away. I don't want to say gone, but they're quickly going away. 52% of people get their news off of TikTok. What does that tell you right there? Whether or not you want these to be the days of Walter Cronkite or not, I think those days are just about gone. If 52% of the people get their news off of TikTok, that tells you that, I don't know, I guess it depends on how you analyze that data. But to me, I think that tells me that people want something a little more personable and a little more informal, and they still will watch. And this is my take on this, and this is where I differ vehemently from those old school guys who have blogs and say, oh, you got to be serious all the time, and you're losing credibility. I disagree, and I will tell you why. Because I believe that people look at people when they're individuals in broadcast. Like right, this is a perfect example. When I'm doing this stuff, I got my feet kicked up, I got my socks on, I got my hoodie on. It's a conversation, and we're sharing thoughts, and we're having fun. It's kind of a laid-back, fun time. But when it hits the fan, so to speak, and when it's serious, there is a time and a place for both. And I think I have proven that you can be lighthearted and fun and personable and having a good conversation with people and hitting the band button and talking to a T-Mobile guy on here while you're doing it. But at the same time, there are times where you can be serious and people will still follow you and respect you and trust you. And I believe I'm living proof of that. Because when we have hurricanes, they come to us. The team that we have, the numbers are proof that when there are hurricanes or storms, our viewership goes off the top. People come to us. We've got me, and we've got Greg, and we've got Shay, and we've got Jason, we've got Allie. We've got a really nice group that melds together, and people will tune into us. And I think people at home are smart enough to know, you guys are smart enough to know that, look, when it's not serious, we can have some fun, and we can chat about stuff and enjoy ourselves and enjoy the camaraderie. But when it's rough, you're going to tune to us, and you're going to say, hey, first of all, I like those people because we have conversations on a nightly basis, but I also trust them because I've seen them in action and they know what they're talking about. I truly believe that. So to answer that question is, you use the word professional. And I don't disagree with that word. I agree with it to an extent, but I think how people view local news and what they're looking for I still believe there will always be a place for local news because people are always going to want to know what's happening in their neighborhood. They're always going to know what's going on with schools. They're always going to know, hey, what the heck happened when I saw helicopters flying around my neighborhood last night? There's always going to be a need for that. But how people consume that has changed dramatically. It's social media, it's streaming. A lot of times by the time broadcast news is on, those things have already happened, and we've covered them on other platforms. So broadcast gives us a chance to get a little more in depth with our iTeam stories and other things. But ultimately, we've got you covered on all those platforms. So I repeat, my boss, her take to me was, look, I want you to be the same person on broadcast TV as you are on DPL. I struggle with that a little bit because there is that part of me that is old school because I've been doing this for 40 years. 40 years. Ay. And, back in the day, I was the morning guy here. When I went to nights, even the management's like, you got to be more serious. You got to be more formal because back then that was the expectation. But when 52% of the people out there get their news on TikTok, I think that expectation is gone. And you still got the old school people. Oh, you got to be like Walter Cronkite, and no one watches local news anymore because they're losing credibility. That's a bunch of nonsense. The difference is, it isn't just that they're not watching local news, it's that local news is broadcasting to other platforms, streaming, apps, social, all of the above, and broadcast. So when you throw it all together, we've got all these areas covered. And oh, by the way, when a hurricane comes, people watch broadcast TV. They still tune in. So it's an interesting change. It's absolutely changed and will continue to change, as will the weather. But I do think it's an interesting conversation. Okay. So, all right. We got on that tangent, but it was a good question. And again, it's one that my boss just said to me a couple weeks ago. And I even said, oh, that's kind of hard. And I have found, and since we're talking about it, I promise you we'll get back to weather right now. I believe my on-air work on broadcast is the best it's ever been in my entire life. And I believe it because I'm being more of myself. It's more natural. It's more real. I'm joking around more. Am I joking around as much as I do on DPL? No, but even tonight on the 5 o'clock news, there was something that happened. Friday night, I went on TV and told everybody to bet the over on the USF game. And it was a winner, by the way. I would have never done that years ago, right? But it's just kind of changed. The way that people are consuming news has changed. That's my take. All right. So, oh, Shannon, I've heard that before. Yeah, the Mr. Rogers, I have, trust me, I have heard that. All right, so Eric's like, when I dress professionally at work, my boss gets concerned on what I've applied for. Another perfect example. People's work attire has changed. I mean, things change, right? We all change. And I think expectations are changing as well. Okay, Dennis, you have seen or do you know a season? Okay, Paul's asking me, do I ever remember it being this way? I'm sure it is, but I don't remember off the top of my head a time that there has been no Gulf or no Caribbean development this late into the season. I'm sure I could research it and figure it out. I have not done so. But it is pretty crazy, and let's hope it continues, right? I don't know about that, Steve. I don't feel like I'm getting better with age, but yeah, I have been doing this for 40 years. My first TV job was in 1986 in Salisbury, Maryland. Unbelievable. Oh, it was sad too, because there was a really good sports guy, radio guy, in Salisbury, and he went to Baltimore afterwards. His name was Craig Heist. And every time he would come into the station, he would always have a joke. Every time. I would see him, hey, Dennis, and he would tell me a joke. He passed away a couple days ago, and the Baltimore Orioles actually, on their Facebook page, had sent condolences to his family for him passing away. And that's, you know, that's unfortunately what happens as you start to get older as well. Okay. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Angela saying 2015. Quite possible. Quite possible. I just don't remember. I have not checked. So I do think broadcast is more relatable now. It's more interactive. When I was a kid, so I used to live in Detroit, and I sent letters to Jerry Hodak and Sonny Elliott and another one of the Mets in Detroit. And about a month later, I got letters back. And some sent some maps, some Difax maps to me and other stuff. And, you know, it was the coolest thing, right? Now, people expect on Facebook, if they send me a direct message, they expect a response within an hour or two. And sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't. I get literally thousands of messages, and a lot of times I just don't get to them. I just don't see them. But that's what's changed. The one-on-one is a thing, and it never used to be. You know, and man, I'm very comfortable with that. When I go out in public, sometimes people are kind of shy to ask for pictures or whatever. I love it. You kidding me? It's the greatest bit of flattery anyone. There has never been a time someone ever has there been a time someone has come up to me and asked me to talk or wanted to chat or wanted a picture or whatever, and have I ever thought, oh, you're bothering me? If I'm with my family, if I'm at dinner, I don't care. Because there's the greatest compliment one can ever get. And my family is super understanding about it. I don't know if they're bothered by it, but I'm certainly not. And you know, I went out Saturday night, and there was several people came up, and they were kind of shy about it. And I'm like, why? It's really nice, and it's awesome. So anyway, if you ever do, yeah, I do, Anna Maria. You're right. I got 500,000 unread Gmails. It's a true story. I showed that. So Lynn is saying October 2005. I know that's not correct because 2005 we had 11 billion storms. And Wilma was in October. Maybe that's what you were asking. Maybe that's what you were answering. But yeah, Wilma was late October 2005. I did live in Detroit, Mike. I lived in Detroit from 1970 to 1973. Yeah, so I used to watch Jerry Hodak and Sonny Elliott and all those guys. And I was there I was actually there until maybe even like the super outbreak, the one that hit the tornado, the early 70s super outbreak that went from Xenia, Ohio to Windsor, Ontario, and hundreds of people died in that tornado outbreak. Yeah, I was living in Detroit at the time. Heading north in 2 weeks, Pennsylvania. Is it going to be okay to drive, Rita? I think you're going to be fine. I think you'll be fine. Oh yeah, Alan, the GFS is almost always more aggressive, and it's usually wrong. Anything, I'll show it to you again. 10 days out, the accuracy of the GFS is a whopping 2% so it's wrong 98% of the time. Thank you, Debbie. This is my Penn State one and my Lightning one as well. So yeah, when you look at the GFS, the ensembles with the GFS are showing 2 potential areas of development, one in the Caribbean, the other in the Atlantic. Now, the Euro is also showing the Atlantic, but this is the GFS, and 12, 13 days out, it develops a hurricane, brings it east of Florida. I would normally completely 100% ridicule this, but the fact that the Euro is also developing something, but keeping it south, it doesn't really develop it into a system, organized system per se, but it is there. It is there. But look here. Here's a look at the U.S. There's a sizable front coming in this Sunday, making it through our area. There's your 540 line through Michigan. And then low pressure with another front as that system moves in from the south. Again, it's really meaningless. I wouldn't worry about it at all. Ren wants to know what the weather in Long Island is this weekend. Well, here, let's look at the model. Ren, how's Stella doing? All right, here's this weekend. Saturday, Sunday. Front comes in on Sunday night. Front comes in Sunday night. Pretty strong front. Definitely cold behind it, it looks like. So I would say probably partly sunny. Saturday, increasing clouds on Sunday, and some rain Sunday night into Monday. Yep, that's exactly what the Weather Service is saying as well. Highs around 70, and turning colder on Monday if you're going to be there that long. All right? All right, so I'm going to go watch some football, and I'm going to see if the T-Mobile person is still there. Oh, looks like my chat might have been timed out. Oh, that stinks if it doesn't work, because I'm going to have to go through it again. Oh, Atlanta just scored again? Really? What's the score? I've not been paying attention. It is, whoa, yowza, 21-7 Falcons, with touchdowns from Tyler Algier, Drake London, and Bijan. Whoa, Bijan with an 81-yard touchdown run. That is going to cause some fantasy football teams to have some changes. That's about a 14. That's like a 14-point play right there. Yikes. So, all right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Have a great night. And I'm going to go watch some football and hopefully get my phone fixed. All right? Thanks for watching. Have a great night. We will see you on tomorrow night's edition of Dennis Phillips Live. See you guys.